In the crisp autumn air of Edmonton's river valley, where the North Saskatchewan winds carry whispers of oil rigs and endless prairies, stands a modest bungalow that blends into the neighbourhood like a forgotten riff from an old blues track. Here, away from the neon haze of Los Angeles studios and the roar of Vegas crowds, Tommy Chong has retreated in recent months, drawn back to the city of his birth for what he calls a reset on the dial. Born on May 24, 1938, in this very expanse of Alberta's heartland, now 87 years young, he embodies the wry wisdom of a counterculture survivor, his gravelly laugh still echoing the haze of decades past. A few months ago, in the lingering warmth of a prairie summer in 2025, I met him for the first time in years, as he tinkered with scripts for a Cheech and Chong retrospective. His eyes, sharp behind tinted glasses, sparkled with that trademark mischief, and his stories flowed like improvised solos, laced with tales of gigs gone wrong and triumphs snatched from the smoke. But on our second visit, October 13th, 2025, as golden leaves skittered across the patio under a slate-grey sky, the air shifted. Seated in a worn armchair amid stacks of vinyl records and faded tour posters, flanked by a half-smoked joint in an ashtray and a mug of herbal tea steaming gently, he chose to unburden himself. For the first time, he shattered the quiet that had enveloped his personal life since the height of his fame, confessing to a new romance that had simmered in secrecy for over a year. A woman who, in his words, reignited a fire he thought long cooled. What admirers had pieced together from cryptic social media hints, chance sightings in Vancouver cafes, and the subtle glow in his recent interviews was real. This connection, tender and unhurried, marked not a betrayal of his storied marriage to Shelby, but a gentle evolution, a late-blooming chapter in a life of reinvention. His admission arrives not as tabloid fodder, but as a measured reflection from a man who has outlived empires of excess, offering a window into the quiet revolutions of the heart. It beckons us to trace the contours of his journey, like flipping through a dog-eared notebook of lyrics, where the punchlines hide profound solos. Thus unfolds this portrait in 7 chapters, an impartial chronicle of an icon who, at 87, trades the spotlight for the softer gleam of vulnerability. Tommy Chong's origins unfold against the stark canvas of Edmonton's working-class sprawl, a place where winter bites like a bad trip and summer blooms in defiant bursts of green along the riverbanks. The son of Stanley Chong, a Chinese immigrant who crossed the Pacific in the 1930s chasing rail work and dreams of stability, and Lorna Jean, a Scotch-Irish waitress whose resilience mirrored the prairie's unyielding soil, young Thomas Kin Chong entered the world amid the hum of wartime factories. His father, a truck driver who navigated icy highways with the precision of a jazzman, hitting off beats, brought tales of Vancouver's Chinatown, but the family settled in Calgary by the time Tommy was a toddler, trading Edmonton's oil boom for the Stampede City's grit. An older brother, Stan, shadowed his early years, the two scrapping over toys in a home where money stretched thin like pulled taffy, meals of canned beans and stories spun from parental hardships. School was a reluctant rhythm. Tommy chafed at the rote lessons of Kelvin High, doodling cartoons in margins and mimicking teachers' quirks to elicit snickers from classmates, his mixed heritage a quiet undercurrent in a sea of Anglo faces. Music seeped in early, courtesy of a pawnshop guitar his father salvaged from a junkyard run. At 12, Tommy plucked strings in the basement, echoing Elvis's hips and Chuck Berry's riffs through thin walls, the vibration a secret rebellion against the conformity of 1950s suburbia. Summers meant odd jobs, delivering papers on bikes that rattled over potholes, stocking shelves in corner stores where he'd trade quips for tips, instilling a hustler's edge that would later define his stage persona. Family dynamics wove complexity. His mother's dry wit sharpened his timing, while his father's stoic silences taught the value of punchy brevity. By 15, he'd formed his first band, the Shades of Blue, gigging in smoky halls where teens twisted to cover tunes, the thrill of amplification drowning out parental warnings about steady trades. Calgary's jazz dives, with their after-hours haze and improvisational fire, became his real classroom. There, amid saxophone wails and drum brushes on snares, Tommy honed a scat-style delivery that blended Cantonese inflections with prairie drawls. Adolescence brought brushes with authority, skipping classes for matinees, joyrides in borrowed jalopies, but no deep scars. just the forge of a kid learning to laugh at life's absurdities. Relocating briefly to Vancouver in his late teens, he dove into the city's multicultural underbelly, busking on Granville Street and crashing with relatives, the Pacific salt air mingling with exhaust to flavor his worldview. These northern roots weren't a straight blues scale. They were a modal wander, rich with cultural cross-currents that seeded his comedy's observational bite. Tommy's youth, analyzed in retrospect, reveals a blueprint for endurance. The chill of Alberta winters mirroring the isolation of heritage, yet warmed by melodies that promised escape. He departed for music's open road not as a prodigy, but as a survivor, guitar slung like a talisman, ready to riff on the world's quirks. The 1960s thrust Tommy Chong into Vancouver's burgeoning rock scene, a cauldron of folk clubs and psychedelic stirrings, where his fretboard wizardry collided with the era's restless spirit, catapulting him from garage jammer to band frontman. Fresh from Calgary's confines, he landed in the coastal city's rain-slicked alleys, assembling the Vancouvers, a soul-infused outfit that fused Motown grooves with West Coast jangle, under the wing of producer Jerry Denon. As rhythm guitarist, Tommy's solos sliced through tracks like "Does Anybody Know I'm Here?", his bends and slides evoking a homesick twang that masked deeper yearnings for belonging. The band's 1966 signing to Gordy Records, an offshoot of Motown's empire, was a coup. Flown to Detroit for sessions in Hitsville, USA, Tommy rubbed elbows with Temptation's backups, absorbing Berry Gordy's polish while injecting raw edge. Yet the Vancouvers fizzled amid label politics, leaving Tommy adrift in Vancouver's improv dens by 1968, where he founded City Works, a troupe that skewered suburban banalities with sketch comedy laced in cannabis lore. It was here, in a dingy theater of Commercial Drive, that fate synced with Cheech Marin. The exilic Chicano actor, fleeing LA's draft board, crashed a rehearsal and traded barbs that ignited their alchemy. Their debut act, a stoned riff on border-crossing absurdities. Packed houses, the duo's timing a telepathic dance born of shared outsider status. Tommy's evolution from strummer to satirist was seamless. His guitar became prop in routines, strummed to punctuate punchlines about draft dodgers and dime bags. By 1971, Cheech and Chong's self-titled album hit Ode Records, its vinyl grooves etching Dave's Not Here into counterculture canon, the track's escalating frustration a masterclass in verbal escalation. Tommy's vocal fry, gravelly from years of chain smoking, grounded Cheech's manic energy, their interplay a yin-yang of haze and hustle. Live shows in LA's Troubadour escalated the frenzy. Audiences high on the duo's aura erupted in chants, while backstage, Tommy navigated the haze of groupies and green, his discipline a quiet counter to the scene's excesses. The partnership birthed a string of gold records: Big Bamboo in 1972, Los Cochinos in 1973, each sleeve art a trippy collage reflecting Tommy's visual wit, honed in childhood sketches. Yet beneath the acclaim lurked tensions, creative clashes over material, Tommy pushing for edgier jazz fusions, while Cheech leaned commercial. Their 1974 split loomed, but not before Tommy dipped into solo ventures, scoring cameos in films like The Star-Spangled Girl, where his laconic delivery hinted at depths beyond the bong. This rebellious riffing phase, dissected through its output, unveils a pivot point. Music as vessel for social jabs. Rebellion not just against the man, but against conformity's straitjacket. Tommy emerged not as mere entertainer, but as provocateur, his maverick streak a bridge from Vancouver's fog to Hollywood's glare, where the next acts would amplify the echo. Amid the whirlwind of Cheech and Chong's ascent, Tommy Chong anchored his personal score with marriages that wove domestic harmonies into his nomadic blues. First with Maxine Sneed in 1960, a union sparked in Vancouver's jazz haunts, where her poise as Floyd Sneed's sister complemented his budding stage fright. Their wedding, a low-key affair in a registry office overlooking the harbor, blended her African-American grace with his Eurasian edge, birthing a household alive with Ray Dawn in 1961 and Robbie soon after. Maxine, a steadfast partner through the Vancouver's tours, managed the chaos of diaper changes amid amp stacks, her encouragement fueling Tommy's pivot to comedy when rock royalties dried. Yet the strains of fame's early pull, late nights in smoke-filled clubs, temptations trailing like roadies, frayed the threads. By 1970, amid Cheech's siren call southward, they parted. A divorce etched in custody papers that granted shared parenting, Ray Dawn's precocious talent already shining in school plays. Tommy's reflection on this chapter, in later anecdotes, frames it as a necessary dissonance. Love's like a set. Sometimes you gotta improv to find the key. Transitioning to Los Angeles in 1971, he crossed paths with Shelby Farrow, a multifaceted artist whose bohemian spirit matched his own. Their 1975 nuptials, celebrated in a sun-drenched backyard with acoustic sets and herb-infused toasts, sealed a partnership that would span decades. Shelby, with her background in writing and sculpture, became co-conspirator, co-parenting Paris, London, and Precious. Amid the bungalow's creative clutter, manuscripts strewn like confetti, children jamming on toy drums to up-in-smoke outtakes. Fatherhood deepened Tommy's palette. Ray Dawn's film pursuits inspired cameos. Robbie's modeling grace echoed in family photos, while Paris pursued music, London activism, and Precious a path in wellness, each a verse in his evolving ballad. Shelby's role extended beyond hearth. She scripted sketches, managed the chaos of IRS audits in the 80s, her laughter a bass line to his treble quips. The blended brood, 6 souls under one roof, including Shelby's son Marcus from prior ties, formed a tribe resilient to spotlight's glare, holidays a raucous jam session where generational riffs collided. Tensions arose as in any ensemble, teen rebellions mirroring Tommy's youth, financial dips testing Shelby's forbearance, yet anniversaries reaffirmed the chord. This familial groove, parsed through its rhythms, exposes a counterpoint to his public persona. The stoner sage as devoted patriarch, marriages not mere backdrops, but symphonies that tempered excess with tenderness. Tommy's bonds, enduring like a well-worn strap, grounded the flight, turning personal solos into collective anthems. The 1970s ignited Tommy Chong's zenith with Cheech and Chong, a blaze that scorched Hollywood's sensibilities and etched stoner lore into celluloid eternity, transforming underground sketches into box office infernos. Their cinematic debut, Up in Smoke in 1978, directed by Lou Adler, captured lightning in a haze-filled van. Tommy's Pedro, the laconic dealer with a perpetual squint, bantered against Cheech's uptight Anthony in a road odyssey of gigs and busts, grossing $44 million on a shoestring budget and spawning catchphrases that infiltrated dorms and drive-ins. Production anecdotes abound, impromptu jams in wardrobe trailers, props of dubious provenance, but Tommy's alchemy lay in authenticity. Drawing from Vancouver busts and LA lowriders, he infused Pedro with a zen detachment that masked sharper societal jabs at the war on drugs. Follow-ups amplified the flame. Cheech and Chong's next movie in 1980 escalated absurdity with meta-fame spoofs, Tommy's writing credit underscoring his hand in the script's labyrinthine plots, while Nice Dreams in 1981 introduced zany dealers in a yacht-bound farce, its yacht chase a visual riff on excess. By Still Smokin' in 1983, the duo's formula, escalating highs, ethnic humor laced with heart, drew 8 million, but cracks showed. Creative fatigue from typecasting, Tommy advocating for edgier fare like the Corsican Brothers in 1984, a swashbuckling parody that flopped yet showcased his fencing flair and directorial chops. Off-screen, the partnership pulsed with vitality. World tours packing arenas from Tokyo to Toronto, merchandise empires of rolling papers and posters funding family expansions. Tommy's solo detours enriched the blaze, guest spots on The Gong Show, voice work in cartoons like The Simpsons precursors, yet the duo's gravitational pull endured, culminating in Get Out of My Room in 1985, a concert film that captured live wire energy amid fading novelty. The Zenith's analysis reveals a pyrotechnic paradox, commercial triumph birthing cultural icons, yet ensnaring talents in haze archetypes that Tommy later deconstructed in memoirs. Silver screens became smoke signals, broadcasting rebellion to masses while privately, Tommy navigated the inferno's heat, Shelby's scripts tempering excesses, children's awe at premieres fueling resolve. This era didn't just entertain, it refracted the decade's freedoms. Tommy's Pedro a folk hero for the marginalized, his Blaze a beacon dimming only as the 80s dawned soberer. The 1980s and beyond tuned Tommy Chong's life to minor keys, a cadence of legal battles and health skirmishes that tested his improvisational core, forging a survivor whose humor sharpened like a well-honed pick. The duo's dissolution in 1985, after Born in East LA's modest success, left Tommy freelancing, cameos in The Golden Girls, writing stints for Nash Bridges, his laconic charm a reliable hook in ensemble casts. Yet the government's gaze turned predatory. In 2003, Operation Pipe Dreams raided his Paxton Quimby Bong empire, netting Tommy a 9-month federal sentence for mailing paraphernalia, a farce he chronicled in the Chong, likening cells to cosmic classrooms where inmates swapped life hacks like set gags. Released in 2004, he emerged unbowed, touring one-man shows that riffed on the absurdity, crowds roaring at tales of prison yoga and contraband chess. Shelby's steadfast presence anchored the storm, her advocacy in appeals a quiet bass to his treble defiance. Health harmony soured in 2012 with a prostate cancer diagnosis, stage 2's stealth attack met with aggressive proton therapy. Tommy beat it into remission, emerging with a regimen of cannabis elixirs and alkaline diets, proselytizing plant medicine in interviews where his voice, undimmed, urged laugh at the big C. Rectal cancer followed in 2015, a double encore that sidelined tours but inspired A Day in the Life of a Retired Monster, a 2021 graphic novel blending memoir and fantasy, its panels a visual jam on mortality's riffs. Family wove through these trials. Ray dons Hollywood wisdom, Paris's tech savvy aiding online sales, London and Precious's wellness ventures echoing his cures. Legal echoes persisted, pardoned by Obama in 2018 for the bong bust, a nod to shifting tides. But Tommy reframed incarceration as research for the ultimate role. This chapter's dissection uncovers resilience's blueprint, adversities as plot twists, not finales, his cadence a defiant up-tempo against downbeat diagnoses. Tommy's trials didn't silence, they amplified, turning personal dirges into anthems for the afflicted, his harmonies a testament to life's unscripted solos. Entering his golden octaves, Tommy Chong's late career reverberates with twilight tours and cultural echoes. A seasoned groove that mentors the next wave while reclaiming the stage on his terms, blending nostalgia with nuanced reinvention. The 2010s reignited flames with Cheech reunions. A 2011 Light Up America tour filling amphitheaters with graying fans and fresh faces. Tommy's banter evolved, less haze, more haze-clearing wisdom on legalization's march. Films like Zootopia in 2016 lent his rasp to Yak's the Yak, a sly nod to type, while Netflix's Disjointed in 2017 cast him as a dispensary sage, his arc a meta-commentary on enduring relevance. The 2025 documentary Cheech and Chong Ride Once More, premiered in April, dissects their saga through archival haze and heartfelt sit-downs. Tommy's reflections on the split, a poignant bridge to reconciliation. Solo ventures flourish. His Chonging It podcast, launched in 2020, hosts riff sessions with Snoop Dogg and Bill Maher, dissecting cannabis culture's pivot from vice to virtue. Mentorships define this echo, guiding Paris's EDM explorations, collaborating with Robbie on wellness retreats that fuse yoga with yuk-yuks, and advising young comics via Vancouver workshops where he imparts timing's the ultimate high. Shelby co-authors these waves, her scripts infusing Tommy's one-man shows with familial vignettes. Their 50th anniversary in 2025, a low-key jam in Malibu drawing industry titans. Cultural ripples extend. Advocacy for decriminalization lands him at congressional hearings. His testimony a blend of levity and lore that sways skeptics. Health's shadow lingers. Annual scans a ritual, but Tommy counters with vitality elixirs, his frame wiry from hikes in Griffith Park. This twilight face, under scrutiny, illuminates legacy's layers, not mere nostalgia but active resonance. Tommy's echoes a mentorship mosaic that grooms heirs while harmonizing past glories. Reverberations persist, his groove undimmed, priming the soul for confessions that ripple personal waters. At 87, ensconced in Edmonton's embracing chill, Tommy Chong voices the whispers that have rustled through his private thicket for over a year. A confession that recasts his narrative as one of perpetual bloom where new flames flicker alongside embers long tended. On October 13, 2025, amid the bungalow's vinyl sanctuary, with Shelby's latest sculpture, a bronze riff on intertwined roots, gazing from the mantel and a playlist of Coltrane murmuring low, Tommy unfurls the tale. A serendipitous encounter in 2024 at a Vancouver wellness retreat, where a 72-year-old herbalist named Elena, with silver-streaked hair and a laugh like wind chimes, shared his panel on plant wisdom. What began as post-talk coffees, discussing terpenes over teas, blossomed into weekend escapes to the Gulf Islands, where kayaks cut through mist and bonfires cradled confessions of widowhood for her, companionship's quiet call for him. Fans had tuned into the static. Instagram glimpses of coastal sunsets with feminine silhouettes, a softer lilt in his podcast asides, the glow during a July 2025 Calgary Stampede appearance. Yet the admission cuts deeper. Shelby's my rock, the bass that holds the band. Elena's the improv solo, the spark that reminds me the jam ain't over. He details the dance's delicacy. Shelby's knowing nod after their first shared dinner, Elena's respect for the marital melody, no discord but a polyphonic harmony where boundaries blur like borders in a dream. Tommy traces fissures mended, post-cancer vulnerabilities aired in midnight calls, Elena's tinctures easing Shelby's arthritic nights, a triad of tenderness that defies convention. Age 87, it's not Twilight, it's the encore where you drop the script, he quips, eyes twinkling as Ray Dawn texts approval from a LA set. This flame, confessed without fanfare, plans no upheaval. Quiet travels, joint writings on Elder Eros, perhaps a cameo in Elena's herbal doc. Repercussions murmur softly, fan forums buzzing with empathy, Cheech's voicemail a chuckling, "About time, man," affirming the sage's audacity. At 87, Tommy envisions Unbound Octaves, a memoir addendum on love's late sets, family fusions with Elena's kin, stages where he croons originals laced with her harmonies. The weeds' whispers, once hushed, now sing, his flame a testament to reinvention's rhythm. Analyzed as coda, this chapter elevates Tommy beyond icon, a harmonist of hearts where confession crafts not closure but crescendo, closure but crescendo, closure but crescendo.